You're listening to the Quince podcast.
The world for the past few months has been speaking a lot on COVID 19 vaccines and how it is our way out of this pandemic. But it will be a long time before the entire world is vaccinated while the virus still roams around us. So, what do we do to prevent severe symptoms or hospitalization till then? Enter a new antiviral pill for COVID 19 treatment from pharma giants like Merck and Pfizer Inc., which aim to reduce the risk of hospitalization and even death. These new drugs, which are Merck's Molnupiravir and Pfizer's Paxlovid, are currently in their clinical trials but have shown promising results, especially the latter, which claims to reduce the risk of hospitalization by 89%. And countries have already started recognizing the significance of these pills, with the United Kingdom being the first country to approve Molnupiravir and purchase nearly 500,000 courses. So, what are these new drugs exactly? How do they exactly work? And more importantly, are they safe? To discuss all this, we spoke with Vaishali Sood, the Quint's health editor, and Dr. Rakesh Mishra, the former director of Council of Scientific and Industrial Research and an advisor to CEBM. You're tuned in to The Big Story, the podcast where we dissect the headline making news for you, and I'm your host, Himmat. Throughout the pandemic, there have been several drugs and treatment protocols used by health professionals, from remdesivir to hydrochloroquine to ivermectin. But all of them have fallen through since they were not specifically designed for treatments and used as short-term measures during an emergency. And with the UK clearing way for Merck's Molnupiravir, there is hope for faster treatment and management of COVID-19. The United States, according to the Indian Express, has also purchased a contract of nearly $1.2 billion from Merck. But why is there so much chatter regarding these new pills? Why is the development so significant? Vaishali Sood, the Quint's health editor, weighs in.
WHO is calling these oral antiviral COVID pills a very exciting development, and some have even called it the holy grail for COVID treatment. I think what makes these pills really exciting, and the reason the scientific community is hopeful, is that these are oral pills. So, I mean, obviously, very easy to administer. And secondly, they are to be given at an earlier stage of the disease. So it will prevent infections from getting serious, and it will prevent hospitalizations. And that's one of the reasons why it is being seen as a very positive development. Currently, COVID-19 treatment protocol has undergone so much of a change in the last nearly 2 years. All kinds of drugs became, being spoken as the miracle drugs, from hydroxychloroquine to ivermectin to remdesivir. And of all of them, the only one that sort of has worked effectively is dexamethasone. The rest of them have fallen by the wayside. And none of them were actually meant to treat COVID, right? They were repurposed to treat COVID. So these pills have been specifically designed to treat COVID, which is another reason why they're being seen as exciting.
So, what exactly are these new pills and how do they work? Both drugs have a 5-day course regimen. In the case of Merck's Molnupiravir, which is branded as Lavgevrio in the UK, 4 pills are taken in the morning and 4 at night. For Pfizer, the course is 3 pills in the morning and 3 pills at night. However, both drugs work differently to blunt the symptoms of COVID. Let's take Molnupiravir first. According to an Indian Express report, the pill is a nucleoside analog that basically introduces a host of errors into the virus and prevents it from replicating itself at that stage. For a more detailed explanation of how it works, here is Dr. Rakesh Mishra, the former director of Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, explaining how the pill works.
What it does is, when it goes in the body, it presents itself as a mimic of one of the building blocks of genetic material of the virus, which is RNA, which is one of the units, cytidine. There are 4 units that are required. So, but it mimics cytidine, but it's not cytidine. So the RNA-dependent RNA polymerase, the enzyme that makes copies of the COVID virus, does not distinguish and incorporates this wrong unit into the genetic material of the RNA, which means now there is an imperfect copy that is being made. When the next time the RNA is being copied from that template, it will misread because that is not a real letter, real citidine. So this leads to a lot of mutagenesis. That means virus becomes mutated. And most of the time, mutation is harmful for any organism. So here mutation rate is so high that virus becomes inactive, and that's how this drug works. That it increases the rate of mutagenesis in the virus, that virus becomes ineffective.
In the case of Pfizer's Paxlovid, according to the Indian Express report, the drug is designed to block an enzyme that the COVID virus needs to multiply in the body. According to a press release by Pfizer, their drug prevents the virus from replication at a stage known as proteolysis, which occurs before the viral RNA replication. In simple terms, the drug prevents a virus before it starts replicating its genetic code. Now, both of these drugs have shown promising results in clinical trials. In the case of Merck, the company has claimed that the pill cuts the risk of hospitalization or death by half, and Pfizer has claimed that the risk for severe illness or hospitalization is reduced by a whopping 89%. And in terms of safety, according to Pfizer, only 1.7% of patients in the clinical trials who received the drug developed serious side effects, and about 20% who received either the pill or placebo experienced adverse events. And Merck has stated that 12% of patients in the trial who received the drug experienced drug-related adverse events. Now, these stats do sound great, but there is a big and important elephant in the room that needs to be acknowledged. Both these pills are designed to be taken within the first few days of symptoms and not during any other timeline of the treatment. The 89% claims are for treatment within 3 days of the onset of symptoms and only 85% when given within 5 days. And Dr. Mishra also cautions against people taking these drugs without any medical consultation, since there are also concerns of the virus mutating further.
Now there is a lot of concern about this because you are mutating the virus in an accelerated manner. So it is true that chances of something surviving after this kind of mutation is small, but that is not zero. So in other words, you are kind of accelerating new variant formation. Imagine a situation that during this mutagenetic process, a variant more dangerous also is formed that will then escape and start when if it infects some other person who is not having the same drug, then that will become a new variant of concern and might create problems. So that is the concern people are raising, that whether it is wise to use molnupiravir at present or not. But the effect of this has been quite impressive, that it's a life-saving drug. So somebody who is dying will need something, and maybe this is what is available. So it's not very straightforward judgment one can make, but there is a valid concern that it can lead to a new variant, but at the same time, for the moment, looks like it is a useful drug. So I think for some time people will use it, and let's hope that it will not lead to a new variant which will give us trouble.
So when can we expect these new pills to come to market, especially in India? As I stated earlier, the UK and the US have already signed up for the new pills. Though there is no official information of the Indian government securing a contract with either of these pharma companies, clinical trials of these pills are being conducted in India. According to a Mint report, companies such as Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, Hetero Pharma, and Nacto Pharma are in advanced stages of clinical trials for molnupiravir. In terms of pricing, molnupiravir was purchased at $700 per course by the US, which is roughly Rs 51,000. However, quoting officials from Merck, the Mint report states that the drug can be priced as low as $15, which is around Rs 1100. If you want to read more regarding these new pills and COVID-19, head over to the Quint and the QuintFit websites. If you liked listening to this episode, please subscribe to The Big Story for episodic updates. We're available on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, JioSaavn, and most of the other popular podcast streaming platforms. For other podcasts, please log on to the Quint website, and for any feedback, please shoot an email to podcast@thequint.com.
Thanks for listening. Log on to the Quint's website and check out our other podcasts.